So far, scarcity is demanding of your attention, whether you're hungry, busy, thirsty, poor. It focuses you on the immediate issues and distracts from elsewhere. And notice, it's not about being poor. It's about experiencing poverty. It's about not having enough. And so if we take it to the extreme, let's leave money, let's leave poverty, let's use time. So this is a study with Princeton students. It's not easy to make them money poor, but it's easy to make them time poor. So they come to the lab, and we randomly assign them into being poor or rich in time as they're playing Family Feud. Either you have 50 seconds per round or 15. They really get into this. They want to get the right answers. They get points which get translated into money. They're into it. Across from being rich or crossed with the idea of being rich or poor, you also either have the option to borrow or you don't. So you might be rich and poor and not being able to borrow, or you're rich or you're poor and you can borrow. And when you are really dying to get the right answer, you need a few more seconds, it's very tempting to them to do if they're running out of time. This is a simple manipulation check. As you can see here, low slack means poor. Those who have less time borrow more, not surprising. But you can also see here something creeping that's critical. Those who have a lot of time, the high slack, notice they borrow very differently when they can borrow at no interest or high interest. I forgot to mention, when you borrow, some cases you can borrow at no interest. In other cases, you're having predatory lending offers. You can borrow only high interest. Those who have enough time, notice, borrow very differently when they can borrow at no interest or at high interest. They're very selective. They're very judgmental, very judicious. Those who don't have enough time, notice, are just borrowing because they need the time. When you borrow at high interest, you run out of time very quickly because every second you borrow, you have 2 seconds left less at the end of the game. You run out of time, you run out of points. And here's what happens. If you look at just the rounds that they complete in the game and the points that they earn, which translate to money that they leave with, the poor do a little bit less rounds and a little bit less points because they're poor. They just have less money, less time. But now let's let them borrow. When the rich borrow, nothing happens. They benefit a tiny bit sometimes, but it's all the same. When you let the poor students borrow at high interest, when you make predatory lending available as they're focused in trying to do a little better, they borrow too much and they run out of time and they run out of points. Notice, these are people who, when they had enough time, looked very sophisticated. They avoided the payday loans in time. They were very judicious. They earned more. The minute you take the same person and just give them not enough and put them in the psychology of focusing and wanting a little bit more and neglecting the implications of taking high interest loans, they destroy their performance and look a lot more like payday loan borrowers and the Indian fruit vendors. It's just a manipulation check to tell you, if you look at how people do, the poor actually do better per round played. They just run out of rounds too quickly. It's the way, you think about it this way. Your maid uses his or her dollar better than you, but she or he runs out of dollars too soon. And that's when they pay the price. So a lot of the effects we saw earlier were knowing prices and knowing trade-offs in here. Those who don't have enough are focused more carefully, they attend more, they do very well, but they neglect other things and they're out of time and out of money. Okay, a couple of summary remarks. There are many failures that you see when people don't have enough. These are all failures that correlate highly with demands on your bandwidth. You need to be able to attend, to exercise self-control, to absorb new information, to have memory, prospective memory for things that have to happen, like taking medication. All those demands on your bandwidth impinge on how well you perform, and you perform less well when you're busy manipulating, dealing with scarcity. This has enormous policy implications. Notice the scarcity you feel is not just a function of how much income you get, but how easy it is to arrange it. If we help you arrange your time in a way that you don't run out, if we give you deadlines, if we give you appointments and meetings that control how you manipulate your time, you do a lot better than if we leave you to your own devices.